Yeah, so indeed it's becoming to be kind of bubble. So everything is AI right now. But at the same time, there are a lot of great products. Like a year and a half ago, I started to use note takers. It records everything, then you have a summary, and it's really great. But still, it's too late. That's where, Insightful, when I started to using it for my sales call, it really improved the process, and it is trained with my data. It has the data of the client to actually combine it and give the best hints, best answers, best questions which I need to ask.
My guest today is Oleg Danyliuk. Oleg is the CEO and founder of dUAnex and CTO of Insyghtful AI. Oleg, welcome to the podcast and thanks for joining.
And thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about both companies and what they do?
Yeah, sure. So indeed, I'm the owner and the CEO of dUAnex. So I'm a technical guy. So I started as a developer, then a team leader, and then actually I saw what issues outsourcing has, what problems customers have with their partners, and I wanted to solve those problems. So that's when I started my company. And yeah, for last 3 years we grown pretty much, like for 5 people starting, and now it's 30. But still, it's not a big company. I'm selling services myself for now, and I'm not really good at it, so I'm a technical guy. And that's where I actually met my co-founder and at Insightful, Wootram. He was doing the startup. It's for salespeople. So during the live call, it helps to make you right decisions, to tell the right things, to ask the correct questions. And that's what I missing when I was selling. And at that time, they were really struggling with a technical solution. It was developed not in a very good way. It has different gaps. And that's when I decided to take over, to join, provide some of my people to actually help with the solution. And that's where we started our exciting journey with Insightful as well.
That's a nice symbiotic relationship. And I'm sure that maybe sales and selling is not like your primary passion coming from a technical background, but I bet once you get past like the initial discussions and are actually talking with clients on the ground, they're probably happy to have someone that's more technical that can understand the real problem and get down to problem solving right off the bat. But I guess how did you decide? Obviously, I personally feel, and I've seen this at different companies, is a lot of times the binding constraint is not even necessarily capital or money to throw at a problem. It's usually technical capability, developers, data scientists, just a lack of people that know how to do this type of stuff that prevents them from like operating at their full capacity or delivering for clients the way that they want to. I guess, what have you seen being in the space over the last 10 years, and why do you think there was such a high demand for growth over the last three?
Yeah, I fully agree, because indeed, like, especially in 2022, that was just insane. I had a cases when I had to hire a developer and they were not really good. And when HR called them, they said, it's okay, I have 5 other offers. And they wanted a lot of money actually for the knowledge they had. So it was really hard to build a team. But yeah, so in the world there was like a cheap money, everyone grown, everyone hired a lot of teams. It remembered me, I guess, 2008 when I had a case with my friend that they just fired half of the team, and he said, "Well, nothing changed. Of course, I'm not playing tennis anymore during my work hours, but still I don't have to stay late or anything like that. No, we are doing the same." So I guess it was like similar situation. And right now, money are not so cheap. AI also simplifies the creation of the startups, some of the flows, so there is not so high demand. And yeah, from one side, it's of course like for me, for dUAnex, it's much harder to sell, to find customers because the competition is high. But at the same time, it's much easier for me to build the team. So what I can see with the current customers, so I can indeed like put in better people who are really on their places, who give the benefit for the clients, and they're happy with the team and its strengths and quality.
That's great. Yeah, it's funny how it changes not only like the operations of the client side, but your company internally and what you're able to deliver. I guess when you think about sales and, not bringing into account Insightful yet, how did you go about, this is a need that theoretically everybody has, but how did you go about kind of generating leads and finding people that, would trust dUAnex to solve their problems? Was it really referrals, or what type of channels did you use early on to find new customers?
Yeah, actually, the easiest and the best way is indeed referrals. So we grown mostly with current customers because they were really happy. Also, they advised us to their friends, colleagues, and that's where we get other customers. Meanwhile, I was also building the sales pipeline with just cold selling, with email outreach, LinkedIn outreach. Yeah, honestly, it's much worse. It's really hard in the current competitive world because you invest in a lot and you're getting not too much from it.
That makes sense, which brought you to Insightful, right? I guess when you think about even taking a step back and thinking about the trends and how much AI is playing in the space and how many companies want to embrace AI, how have you seen that impact even the types of work that you're doing at dUAnex? And then when you think about Insightful, what was it that triggered that thought process to say, hey, this is a real big gap that AI would actually play a nice role in helping to solve?
Yeah, so indeed it's becoming to be kind of bubble. So everything is AI right now. But at the same time, there are a lot of great products. Like a year and a half ago, I guess I started to use note takers. So during the call, it records everything, then you have a summary, and it really great. And when I did the sales calls, that helped me. I read the summary, I tried to think what I made wrong, what could be better, but still, it's too late. That's where when I started to using it for my sales call, it really improved the process. So I can see with AI, and it is trained with my data, it has the data of the client to actually combine it and give the best hints, best answers, best questions which I need to ask him.
That's interesting. I guess because Insightful is more of an AI centric solution, what have been some of the interesting problems that you've had to solve to kind of get that up in production to be really value add for different clients?
Yeah, so we had, I would say, two big technical issues. So one is speech recognition, because especially myself, I'm from Ukraine, so my English, it has not the best pronunciation. It's harder to actually catch what I'm telling. So we played a lot to find the best model. Yeah, it's actually usually more expensive. So we found our alternative, which is like not too expensive, but still we're getting the great results. And what's also important, the delay is not big because we want our help real time. So I don't need it like even 5 seconds later. The other issue was actually catching the real intent. So first of all, there might be issues like if I say it's expensive or I say it's not expensive, it's a similar phrases. So we need to like separate them and give a opposite hints for them. So that was a problem. So we had to like use NLP, so narrow linguistic programming models for that. So it was pretty complicated, but yeah, still we did it and it's working.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people gravitate, when they're using, let's say, a chat GPT or something on their own to always like the newest, greatest reasoning model, whatever. And it's like not every problem needs to think through, a million tokens of context. It's like sometimes you care about cost, sometimes you care about latency. And especially when you're talking about like real time speech ingestion and interpretation, having to make decisions, spit it back, like even half seconds make a difference in that scenario. So I can definitely see that as a potential issue.
Yeah, because we have different complex logics to actually select. Sometimes we go to simpler model to have it faster, but then we can recheck it with the more complex model. So indeed, it's pretty hard logic, but in order to make it the most effective.
And how has that trend impacted the work that you're doing at dUAnex as well? Are customers asking for more kind of agentic AI workflows and solutions, or are they still asking the same types of like, these are business problems, we don't care what technical solution you use to get it done as long as you get it done?
It's actually funny. I find like two types of customers. One, they already come with some ChatGPT projects which they created with it, and it's actually usually it's pretty tough, pretty bad customers. Because for example, if I ask ChatGPT about some estimation, it usually says me like, let's say for example a week, but it will take in a real life a month. And those customers actually read the same estimation, same proposals, and they don't understand all the complexity. So I had cases when like we had a project which would take like 100K, and the guy said, well, I was expecting like it would want 2,000, so not more, because it's just simple page, what do you do? So he doesn't understand that behind is a backend, servers, and etc. And the second type of customers, indeed, so they are not biased by AI, so they want to really like make the job done. And in that case, we're doing the same as we did for them like 5 years ago. But with AI, we can make it faster. We can make some design proposal like this. So in a day, so we draw some sketches. So it's much faster, it's simpler, and of course, at the end, it is cheaper also for the customer.
Yeah, I would imagine also people that are embracing AI to a certain extent, and ChatGPT, and even some of these like quick builder, let's say a Lovable or Replit or whatever. I imagine if they're trying to DIY some of the things, they might end up with more technical debt that you have to come in and clean up. Are there a couple of like example projects or things that you've worked on with clients that would be interesting to highlight for our network?
Well, yeah, we actually work with Lovable as well, and we had like internal projects and as well we had external ones. So it's interesting. So sometimes it does pretty good job. Of course, like you need to rewrite some part. It's not good, not scalable usually, but still you can use it. It's a great start. But sometimes it's just terrible. So you need to throw it in a trash can and start over. And that really depends on the queries, because what we learned that you cannot just ask, like, I don't know, build me CRM. It doesn't work. So, and it actually will build it for you, but it would be a mess. But if you define like strictly what you need, what objects are there, what can they do, what are the rules, then it will do a pretty good job.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of like, again, like anything else, it's a tool. There can still be a lot of user error, and it's how are you operating the tool to get the most out of it, even if it is just to make design choices really quickly, right? They can accelerate the process massively. So when you think about, now you have some of these tools, now you have the partnership with Insyghtful as well, that you can leverage even the technology yourself in your other business. I guess, what is working well for you right now at dUAnex? And what are you doing that's, not yielding the results that you anticipated or is a little bit frustrating for you at the moment?
So the pre-sale is working much better because indeed we can like for example now we working a lot with voice agents. Like 5 years ago, you have nothing to show, so you can just talk with the customer, tell them what it would be like. But right now, so I was in a meeting with a customer, I came back, told my team to make the voice AI agent for them, which will be answering the questions. And it took like 10 minutes for them. So we just took the standard model, we uploaded the data of the customer, and now they are testing. And yeah, I hope they can become our clients as well. But yes, the point is that indeed it just 10 minutes for us, and it's a working prototype for a customer. So the customer himself, he really understands what is he buying and if that works for him or not.
That's great. When you look at the business from like a business owner perspective, and you think about, what are the metrics that matter to you and where are you focusing most of your time nowadays? How do you think about that?
Well, yeah, as an owner of a relatively small company, I was actually trying to do all by myself as much as I can, and as well just want to own it. I want to have a control. But yeah, right now I'm moving to different directions, so I hired more people like recruiter, HR, PM, etc. And yeah, that's where I want to improve our metrics. I want to improve like searching of the people for the customer, so to make it not just faster but also with more background checks, so with more quality. That's where I have in my internal team, so we are building right now the metrics for them actually for pre-sale projects, and that's where AI also helps us in terms of building those projects I told you, like for the concrete customers, but as well for the measuring the success rate of the team.
Nice. And I guess there's different, depending on where the customer is, if they're in more of a regulated space, like let's say healthcare, like finance, there's probably different levels of like adoption curve on what they feel comfortable with from an accuracy perspective, I guess. What have you seen as far as like the different education curves and the adoption curves given that?
Yeah, it's easy and hard for us at the same time because, in fact, we are providers. So, all those standards like HIPAA, for example, so we don't need to comply with that. So, they need to comply. That's where we try to help them. But as well, I see actually maybe for some startups, there is a gap where they can jump in because, for example, because they are really expensive. For example, WAPI, which we use for voice agents, so it's cheap for customers. So they can like basically with simple solution pay nothing, but just for the calls itself for the minutes. But then when you wanna add the HIPAA, it's $1,000 per month just for this module, and that's it. And they can spend for small agents like 20, 50, $100 per month, and then you are adding 1,000 just for this standard. So it's huge for them, and that's indeed so. That's where we can more automate it, those checks, those compliances with AI as well, and that's maybe some startups will appear in the next years as well, like GDPR as well. So it's nothing complex, but still you need to comply, and there are a lot of like small moments you need to be careful with.
Yeah. And I guess when I think about like, if we talk about Insightful here for a second, it's really a tool from a sales enablement perspective that any company could use, any company that's selling to enterprises, right, to B2B. I guess, have you found different niches where it's gotten more traction or like specific customer profiles that there seems to be, a lot of adoption more quickly?
Yes, it's startups because it's easier for them because no matter which startup it is, if it is SaaS, if it's manufacturing or medicine, still the questions would be similar. So what is your IRR? So how many customers you have? What's your traction, and etc. etc. So what investments do you want? And we trained our model specifically for those types of questions, and it actually works very well. So when we go to, for example, SaaS business for established business, we can sell, so they are selling their products, and they can use us for this. But then it's still not a problem. So we use their data, we train our models with their data. It's every time like a little bit specific, right, for them. So we don't have this big volume of customers where we can check it, where we can train additionally where we need it. So that's why like startups is a great field where we can apply.
Interesting. Yeah. And there, eventually if you build up that base, there probably will be more use cases and data and things that you can leverage across the board to figure out some best practices, etc. And so I guess when you look to the future, what are your goals and kind of where do you want to be in the next 12 months?
Well, I would say with dUAnex, so we want to make our current clients happier, providing more automation in the development to fasten the delivery, to make it better, and find more clients with voice AI. So that's our main focus right now. With Insightful, so we're looking for investment to grow faster. Because what I see is that indeed the product is great. So current customers, they love it. Myself, I love to use it. But we need to grow and grow fast because this market is pretty competitive. So if you have money, you can jump in and try to build the same startup. It will take time. You will have all those issues we had, but still with a lot of money, you can beat us. So that's why we need to scale and scale fast.
Yeah, it's like you're going to run into the same issues to your point. But if you have the money to invest, then it's just experimenting and iterating more quickly, figuring out what's not working so you can try something else and kind of tweak it. And yeah, it helps to have that capital base to work with in that point. I guess, what do you think is the biggest obstacle or challenge that would be preventing you from getting to that next level of growth?
Well, actually, I would say that it's not even something complex, something like technical, because our model is, I would say, it's proven, so it's working really good. The main issue we have right now, and even with the current customers, is that we build the core, we build the main features they need to use, they love it, but they're struggling with all the integration around. So they have limitation like with importing the data, creating the using the Calendly, for example. And it's not just Calendly, so it's not a problem to integrate it. But one customer needs Calendly, other uses HubSpot, third customer uses Microsoft, and it's so many integrations that we just cannot cover it fast enough. And that's where we have issues with onboarding, and some customers, they need to change their flow and they complain about it.
Yeah, it's crazy because really the end-to-end landscape of like SaaS applications that any one customer or client would use now, it's just like exponentially increased from like 5 or 10 years ago. So I think that makes a lot of sense from, a complexity of operations of actually, it's one thing to see the value in something, but to be able to operationalize it and get adoption in the workflow that exists, sometimes you have to do some process reengineering there or get customers comfortable. I guess a couple more questions before we wrap up. Obviously, for 10 years, you've been serving clients, starting your own business. Now you've joined up with Insyghtful, and, that's on a separate growth trajectory of like potentially a product company versus like a services company. So you're straddling an interesting two worlds right now. What's something has been pleasantly surprising that was actually easier than you thought it was going to be? And then conversely, what was something unexpected that actually ended up taking a lot of your mind share and effort to overcome?
Yeah, I would say that one thing is which is like really important, and that's how we try to work with customer, is building a trust. And for example, we had a case when we were asked to enlarge the team, hire DevOps, but I clearly saw that the customer need DevOps, but they cannot really work with more people. So they need on a higher level, on requirements level, they need to add people. And I told them honestly that, yeah, I would like to hire people that would be good for me, but you don't need it right now. And at the end, yeah, so we discussed the processes, they updated it a little bit. And at the end, instead of one person, they hired two. So that was really like pleasant and unexpected for me, but that's kind of logical, I would say. So if you honest with your customer, then actually he would like to work with you and work more. And
Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's a lot of people out there that are just thinking transactionally, right? And like, oh, how do I maximize in the short term? At the end of the day, you want people on your team that are going to maximize for the long term in the relationship. And that's who you would prefer to work with on a partnership perspective as well, right? So, Oleg, where can people find out more about what you're doing and what dUAnex and Insyghtful are up to?
yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my newsletter, follow me, and also, yeah, on our pages on dUAnex.com and Insyghtful.ai.
Awesome. Oleg, really appreciated the conversation.
Yeah, me too.